Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo sadanto suchedoye ulahudi samyao sanputoshe. Wu shang shen shen wei miao fa, bai qian wan jue nan zhao yu. Wo jin jian wan de shou chi, yuan jie ru lai zhen shi yi. Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Venerable Master, Dhamma friends, Shifu Shangren, 各位师兄大家好. Good afternoon, everybody, and good evening to those of you who are in the Northern Hemisphere. And we are now on Sunday, August 30th, here in the Gold Coast of Queensland. We're going to be explaining the Flower Garland Sutra, the 10 Stages chapter. And if that's what you've come to do, I'm glad. Welcome. We're in the right place. And today is, if you're a storyteller, if you're a story listener, today's sutra passage is just for you. It's a very exciting part of the sutra. So what I'm going to do is bring up our text here. Here we are. We're going to come back to page 44 when we're done. And I'm going to slide up to the title here. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to pick up my trusty emerald 12-string guitar, and with a sincere heart, one would hope, we're going to invoke spiritual presence of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas from the Flower Garland Assembly. We do that in Chinese. The text is down below. Join me. We'll chant it 7 times. Here we go. Namo Da-Fang Guang Fu Huayan Jun Huayan Hai Hui O Pusa. Namo Da-Fang Guang Fu Huayan Jun Huayan Hai Hui O Pusa. The thing about 12-string guitars in the past was always keeping them in tune. And when your 12-string guitar is made of carbon fiber, it doesn't go out of tune. So what a wonderful advance in guitar technology is our emerald 12-string guitar. Okay, we're on page 44, and no, said it wrong. Page 42 and 43. 42, 42, 42 and 43. And, okay, yeah. The second paragraph. 或随心念于一世界中实现二世界庄严. We actually read that last week, but we're going to do it again because there's a story about that. Before we start, I want to check my chat. Let's see here. Says here, network is bad, breaking up. Do you have, I've got message network in the red, breaking up. Let's see here. I'm on Dharma Treasury. Sam, your guy is not showing up on my. Do you want to check, see if your modem is happening? Okay, we're happy to accord with the gremlins and the Dharma protectors of technology. So, while we're getting set up, I wanted to say at the end of today's lecture, we're going to invite the monks of Berkeley Monastery to let everybody know what's going on that is available to you to join them in practicing the Dharma. Because there's a lot. The answer to that is there's a lot going on. And because it's online, it's people can practice at home and join in no matter how far away they are. And that's never been before. So, silver lining in a dark cloud of pandemic lockdown, right? The fact that we have no choice but to join in via Zoom, the virtual Buddha Hall. What that does is it requires us now to pretty much everything that we have to do in 2 languages, sometimes 3. Today we listened to stories about Master Hsuan Hua, as explained by one of his earliest Hong Kong disciples, Madalena, Madalena Tan, and she spoke in Mandarin, and there was an English and a Vietnamese translation at the same time on Zoom. How wonderful is that? As a result, we pretty much we're averaging 200, sometimes 300 people per event, which was never before. Couldn't have happened unless it was a special lecture and we were in a very large hall, filling the Buddha Hall at CTTV or something like that. But now we're able to do it, and to have friends listening in right now from China, 特别欢迎我们在中国的就是同参道友啊，各位佛友啊，那么非常难得有你们在自己的家里都可以收听我本人在澳洲，在澳大利亚这里讲经，你们在中国各地各州在那儿听为什么呢？因为有一些义工很发现非常辛苦的，每个礼拜都帮我可以讲一个语言，他们帮我翻译另外那个语言So 非常感恩。So what I'm saying for folks who are going, he's just went off somewhere, I don't know what he's saying. Technology has allowed us to create this virtual Buddha Hall, which is really, really unprecedented. In the past, if we were in a very large hall, maybe one lecture, we could pack in, 200 people, maybe 300 people. But with the pandemic forcing us to go online, we are now able to open up a virtual Buddha Hall and welcome so many friends from around the world that we need extra languages. So today, because of our volunteers who are very vigorous and diligent, and in Chinese you say 很发心, to really made a resolve to help bring the Dharma forward. So they are translating. I can speak one language, which I prefer to do if I can, and they translate accurately and quickly into Mandarin so that friends from China can listen in. And we're averaging about 80 listeners from China, all over each province per lecture, and about 150 or so, 160 on YouTube listening to me in English. So how wonderful is that, to be able to speak at one time to people all around the globe? That's, I always get a kick out of that. So I'm spending time here hoping that the technology, that our network has improved. Is that the case, Jerry? Excuse me. Oh. Watch the monk blow his nose into the mic. How about that? You want to send me a chat here and let me know if we're back up? It's okay. Good. Good. This is okay. All right. What are we going to talk about today, and why is it especially good for storytellers? It's because we're going to talk about something quite fantastic from the ordinary the realm of duality, quite fantastic. From the realm of the Bodhisattva, this is reality. What is it? Psychic powers and their functioning when you are a 10th stage Bodhisattva. This is magic stuff today, and the sutra is just running us through what the Bodhisattva can do now at his or her stage of awakening. And this may be one of my favorite passages of the entire 10 stages chapter. I've got favorites. One of my favorites is in the first stage, the stage of happiness, where it talks about how the Bodhisattva gets rid of the fivefold fears because of what he can now do on the stage of happiness. The second stage, the stage of leaving defilement behind, one of my favorite parts is the 10 good deeds and the 10 evil deeds. That awareness of cause and effect, just on the spot, you go, yeah, I see. Oh, in my life, stuff went wrong, and now I see. I've connected the dots from cause to effect. Thank you, Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva. Right? In the third stage, what's so cool about the third stage is psychic powers, but it's from a third stage Bodhisattva's point of view, and it's 5 of them. And kind of, it's more than before, but it's brief. It's tantalizing, right? Then there's the fourth stage, the fifth stage, and the sixth stage. Sixth stage is cause and effect. It's, I'm sorry, I said it wrong. Sixth stage is the 12 links of conditioned arising, the pratitya samutpada, right? It's a creation story. And then the seventh and the eighth. And between the seventh and the eighth, the Bodhisattva reaches irreversibility, no further retreat, right? And that's an amazing, amazing passage. One of my very favorites of the entire sutra is the description of what you can do when you manage wugong yonghang, right? Effortless practice. And then the ninth stage is the inconceivably marvelous functioning of dharani. When you have the power of dharani working for you, you can teach, you become the dafash, or you can teach as never before, right? So, we're in the 10th, and here is a spectacular passage coming up today that describes if you were an arhat, say you had that level of purity and samadhi. Actually, those stages are a kind of nirvana. They're called nirvana with remainder, right? But at the point of becoming an arhat, fourth stage arhat, you have the 18 transformations, lohan shibabian, the 18 transformations of someone who has realized that fruition of your work, right? You have real gongfu, and you've ended birth and death. But from the point of view of the Avatamsaka Bodhisattva, it's still it's a wide gap in abilities between the Arhat and the Bodhisattva at this point. However, the 18 transformations of an Arhat, from the point of view of ordinary evidence-based physics, right, what we're taught in school, this is the stuff of Marvel comics. This is the stuff of superheroes, but it's real. And it comes from human nature purified. There's nowhere else. It doesn't come from Stan Lee and his incredible imagination and drawing skills. You know, Superman, Batman, the Green Hornet, you know, not the Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, right? It doesn't come, R.I.P., Chadwick Boseman. It comes from you who have used the Dharma to cultivate. That's what's amazing about it. But the things that you can do at that point defy science, right? You literally defy gravity. You know, you can fly, you can walk on the water, you can dive into the earth as if it were water, etc. Make your body big, make your body small. What is it? Mastery over the elements. Okay, mastery over earth, air, fire, and water. You can do things that rearrange your own elemental makeup. You can do things with your body that science, medicine, psychology, even, you know, psychic discoveries behind the Iron Curtain. Remember that book back in the 60s? That was the cutting edge of psychic powers, right? Well, yeah, it was. It was amazing. Take a Kirlian photograph. Take a leaf of a plant, photograph it, put it on a photographic plate while it's still attached to the roots, and you get these lights in the outline, the shape of the leaf, right? Cut the leaf, take a picture of it, nothing, all gone. People go, oh, look, see, plants are alive. The whole plant pathology controversy arose with that Kirlian photography, which was reported in the book called Psychic Discoveries Behind the Iron Curtain. Duke University received, actually, Defense Department and CIA money to see if we, Americans, couldn't develop our psychic abilities to match the Russians, because we couldn't. That was the time of Sputnik. We couldn't let the Russians beat us towards even anything, towards psychic powers. So we funded a lab in Duke, but nobody took it really seriously. And whatever they discovered was, you know, kind of hush-hush. Like during the Second World War, it was known that Hitler was interested in astrology. So we had to get our own astrologers to know what the astrologers were telling Hitler, you know. Similar kind of competitive mentality, fear-driven and desire-based, right? So here, the 18 transformations of the Arhat, which are packed into the Bodhisattva's fourth, depending on how you count them, fourth or fifth psychic power called Shanzu Tong, the fulfillment of the spirit, right? Now, at the 10th stage, returned. That's what we're going to hear today. So we're tracing it through, you know, denial of anything other than contemporary reality, where gravity is gravity, and where, you know, earth, air, fire, and water make up our bodies, and we get older, and we get softer, and we get slower, and we get stiffer, and that's the way it is. We age and die, right? Not necessarily when you get to somebody who cultivates the Dharma, Xiu Dao, who cultivates the way, right? Someone who cultivates the way to success suddenly has a whole different relationship with the earth, the air, the fire, and the water in our ordinary human bodies. From there to the Arhat, who masters and receives the 18 transformations that we've discussed, to the Bodhisattva on the third ground, the third stage, who is able to take that into the realm of Bodhisattva psychic powers, to today's lecture. What is today's lecture? Good question. You ready? Shall we do it? Here we go. Now, we've Do we want to, I'll tell you what, we'll read the first part so we can read some Chinese text, get the counterpart of English. Then we're going to go back and do the list so you get a whole picture of it. All right? We'll do that. The repetitive part we'll do in English, so we won't spend so much time on the text. Okay. Turning to page 42. And going to today's new passage, within a single world system, make the adornments. Okay, so here's our first. Make sure I get the right amount here. We'll do two. We'll do adornments and then sentient beings. Okay, ready? Here we go. 或随心念于以世界中实现二世界庄严，乃至不可说世界庄严。或于一世界庄严中实现二世界，乃至不可说世界。或随心念以不可说世界中众生至一世界，或随心念以一世界中众生至不可说世界，而与众生无所扰害。Okay. Somebody's going, no way, impossible. Here we go. Or, should he wish to do so within a single world system, he may make the adornments of two world systems appear, up to and including the features of indescribably many world systems. Or, within the adornments of a single world system, he may make appear two world systems, up to and including indescribably many world systems. Or, should he wish to do so, he may take the sentient beings in indescribably many world systems and place them in a single world system. Or, should he wish to do so, he may take the sentient beings in a single world system and place them in indescribably many world systems. Yet, these sentient beings are not disturbed or harmed. Righto. We have a list of 10 options. Each one describes the mastery our Bodhisattva has now over his body and the world, what he can do. And every time there's a big parentheses, and we say, and he's doing this, or she is doing this, out of compassion, not from a wish to be a wizard, to be a Marvel Comics character, a superhero. We who observe call it that, right? Give it that name. And wow, wizardry, right? Gandalf, look, wow, Dumbledore, look, right? Ursula Le Guin. The Bodhisattva is not there. What is he doing? He's responding to people's pain and trying to make it go away, trying to reduce it, and then empower the living being to learn how to do it himself, herself. Okay. All right. What did we just read? This Bodhisattva, if he wants to do so within a single world system, and that could be, our world right now, our planet Earth, it could be other worlds, he can make the adornments of two world systems appear, or indescribably many world systems worth of adornments appear. What's an adornment of a world system? We talked about it last week. It's things like mountains, things like oceans, things like climate, things like trees, okay? Those are adornments, meaning features. We could swap the word out for characteristics or virtues or aspects of. Okay? He can take the aspects of one world, and he can take the aspects of two worlds and cram them into one world. He can take the aspects of limitless worlds and put them into one world. No collision, no destruction, no crowding, right? Or within one world system, he can make two world systems appear. Didn't I just say that? He can take the adornments of two and put them into one. He can take the adornments of one and put them into many, right? Okay. Why? Who would want to do that, right? What's that about? If you have the opportunity to read chapter 39 of the Flower Garland Sutra, we at Buddhist Text Translation Society have translated it as entering the Dharma realm. 入法界品, 第39. It's the 39th, last save one, chapter of the Flower Garland Sutra. Sudhana, the pilgrim, goes out to wake up. He goes on a pilgrimage, a religious, spiritual journey, seeking awakening. And he goes to 49 teachers in preparation to meet the last 3. When he meets the 50th teacher, Maitreya Bodhisattva, Maitreya Bodhisattva welcomes him, greets him, praises him, talks about what Sudhana has gone through to get to him. And one of their main topics, parenthetically, is the Bodhi resolve. They praise the Bodhi resolve 100 times in verse. It's wonderful, part of the chapter. Okay. When all of those preliminaries are done, Maitreya Bodhisattva goes, snaps his fingers, and a door opens. And the door is the gateway to Vairochana Buddha's fantastically adorned pagoda. Pilu Jana Rulai Zhuangyan Oge, right? It's a tower, describes a tower. And until Maitreya was satisfied that Sudhana was completely ready, that door didn't open. So he snaps his fingers, the door opens, Sudhana goes in. He enters Vairochana's adorned tower, pavilion, pagoda. And symbolically becomes a Buddha. That's really the peak of awakening. That's the essential moment of the entire pilgrimage, right? So the sutra goes on to describe what it's like to be in there. And it's beautiful literature. This is chapter 39, the pilgrimage of Sudhana, called, Thomas Cleary in his translation calls it entering the realm of reality, right? D.T. Suzuki actually has taken this piece when Sudhana goes in, and he translated it for his Chan and Zen talks. I think it's number 2 or number 3, volume 2 or 3 of the Chan and Zen teachings. And Suzuki's translation is spectacular, right? It really captures something. What happens is, in this epic literature, Mahayana Buddhism's epic, Sudhana, on one hand, we get a description of what he's seeing, but on another level, this is a description of what it's like to have Buddha's wisdom open and functioning. So it's got multiple levels that you can read it from. What does he see? Sudhana sees in every aspect of Vairochana's tower, in every wall tile, in every lamp, in every floor tile, in every window, in every balustrade, in every doorframe of the building, Sudhana sees images. He sees stories appearing, being told, narrated of Maitreya Bodhisattva in every one of his past lives, doing what we call the deeds of bodhisattvas, which could include feeding your body to a hungry tiger so the tiger's 2 cubs wouldn't starve. So you give your body to a mother tiger who is starving, doesn't have any milk to feed her cubs, and you give your body selflessly, the tiger eats you, she gets enough strength, and the 2 tiger cubs happily chase each other all around the room because they have life. Okay, there's a deed of a bodhisattva, right? Another one. Oh, you know the story how a dove is frantically flying by and there's something chasing the dove. And the dove lands in the hand of the bodhisattva and says, essentially, save me, save me. Because why? A hawk, a raptor. They don't identify what kind of hawk it is. Maybe it's a goshawk, maybe it's a sparrowhawk, maybe it's a kestrel, maybe it's a peregrine falcon, Omi Tofo, right? Is chasing the dove, and the dove looks up at the bodhisattva with these big pleading eyes and save me from the hawk. So the bodhisattva, being a soft heart, puts it in his robe, you know. Okay, the hawk. The hawk says, unfair to raptors united. You may have saved the dove, but you're starving a hawk. You realize that? How is that compassion, right? So talks in these stories, hawks can talk. So the bodhisattva goes, you have a point. That's not very compassionate to save one and starve the other. Okay, here you go. And he cuts pieces of his body off and feeds them to the hawk. And the hawk is satisfied. He's okay eating bodhisattva flesh, bodhisattva burger. Right? Life is just that way, right? What is it? It's like, how do they say? No good deed goes unpunished, right? So, okay, every adornment in Vairochana's tower tells stories like these. That's what the sutra shows. In just over everywhere Sudhana looks around the tower, he sees episodes from the past lives of Maitreya. And then, amazing to tell, he sees himself in each of these episodes bowing to Maitreya, Bodhisattva. Again, for people who've been listening to my lectures about bowing and repentance recently, this is the Fa Jie Guan. This is the Dharma realm, contemplation. And Sudhana steps into it. He is witnessing this and realizing that he has a share. He is a stakeholder in Maitreya's Dharma realm, Maitreya's field of affinities, and he gets to witness everything that Maitreya did on his, they call it the Yin Di, the stage of planting causes, the stage of causality on the way to Buddhahood. Sudhana was part of it, watching and encouraging Maitreya to make the great Bodhi resolve and never retreat. So now, at the stage of the Go Di, at the stage of realization, right, he gets to see all of it at once. How incredible, right? So, today's text says, the adornments of a world system, there you go. That's the adornments of a world system that now come in to your awareness because, why? Because your self is gone. Nothing is obstructing this input. You can handle this much information without any obstacle, right? What was there before? Limits, language, thoughts, likes, dislikes, fears, preferences, etc. Biases, prejudices, things that we couldn't admit. The shadow, from a Jungian point of view, was all in there, and cutting down, limiting, cutting out, well, all that's gone. Now, there's light inside. and light doesn't obstruct light. Light and light merges. So you can observe and absorb all of this information, no worries, no problems, no drama, as they say in Australia. So how cool is that, right? I remember going to the World's Fair in Montreal. Anybody is listening from Montreal, I'm talking about you, right? I was a kid. We went with my dad, my brother. I don't know if my sister went, but we traveled to Montreal for the World's Fair. It was l'Expo. What was the year? Was it 66? Somebody will jump onto Google and check out when was the Montreal World's Fair. World's Fairs were fantastic, back then. It was a big deal. And, oh man, it was so exciting to be at the World's Fair in Montreal, in Quebec. And I remember one of the great exhibits that everybody was talking about was it was Ontario, the province. We can talk about Ontario and Montreal, that's all right. Toronto, rival cities, right? So here we were at the Ontario exhibit. First of all, they had a great song, "A place to stand and a place to grow, this mighty land, Ontario." And what impressed me the most, I'm going to sneeze again. Sneezing isn't impressive, no. What impressed me the most was they had, for the first time, multi-screen projection. Multiple projection screens. So you were sitting in something like an IMAX theater, which didn't exist then. And there were multiple views happening. There's a trout leaping out of a trout stream, and there's a bear pulling a salmon out of another stream, and there's a skyscraper on the skyline of Toronto, and there's a helicopter circling over waterfalls, all happening at once on the screen. And then they carried that outside into pillars in the pavilion of the province of Ontario. They had these big pillars, and on the pillar the surface of the pillar were curved movie screens, so that you could see stories happening all at once on the pillar itself, on the surface of the pillar. That was cool. That didn't exist. And how wonderful to be able to see something you'd never seen before. My eyes had never beheld multiple images moving and narrating. And once I read the Ru Fa Jie Pin, Entering the Dharma Realm, chapter 39, where Sudhana enters Vairochanda's tower and sees every single space, available space, inside the tower, narrating the stories of Maitreya's past life, I thought, where have I seen that before? That's the World's Fair in Montreal, inside the Ontario Pavilion, with their multiple screen kiosks, curved, right? That was amazing. That was so exciting. And my dear cousin Grant had a job. He had a summer job. He was just the right age, a teenager, to get a job at the World's Fair. And his job was to get people seated and take the tickets for La Spirale, venez à La Spirale. And La Spirale was a ride. And Grant had the job he was a ride minder for Quebec. How exciting that was. And of course, everybody is bilingual, so he would say, "Come to the spiral, the ride of a lifetime, venez à la spirale," he would say. So, how exciting. And there we have it, we have the Bodhisattva now is able to see adornments of a single world show up in one world in multiple worlds, and then multiple worlds coming into a single world without any obstruction. Very much Indra's net. People know Indra's net. Okay, next one that we read. What? Look at this. He can take sentient beings from infinite worlds and put them into one, and they feel very happy, peaceful, no big deal, nothing's going on. Or he can take the sentient beings from a single world and put them into indescribable world systems, and the sentient beings are not disturbed or harmed. Oh boy. How different is that? I'm going to share with you, I just happen to have with me at the moment, an example of sentient beings being disturbed. Right? Sentient beings being disturbed. How are they disturbed? They are, we cleaned off the deck today. The possums at night make a mess. And so we have to clean it a lot. And there's a blaster, there's a water hose, a pressure hose. It's really nice. It's a steam hose without the steam. It's just water pressured. And we had to take everything off the deck and wet everything down, and it gets chaotic because why? We have the visit from many, 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 many birds. And when the birds come, particularly the lorikeets, if anything is different from normal, they get upset. They get upset when anything is different. And the noise of all these upset birds, when something's different, there's potentially a threat. And so they get upset. Unlike the living beings that the Bodhisattva can move around. What happens when lorikeets get upset? I'm going to optimize my screen for a video clip. There we go. What happens is, turn this on. Things happen like this. Lorikeets ordinarily wouldn't go bathing in their food dish, but here's a lorikeet bathing in his porridge dish, and everybody's standing around going, "What?" There he is. That's lorikeet porridge, and a bird is taking a bird bath in the middle of why? It's because things are a little out of the ordinary, and he can't quite cope with it, right? So, okay, there we go. Funny birds, indeed. What in the world, right? Furthermore, we're going to take a look at, let's see here. There we go. We've got an example of, hold on here. I'm one video behind, but I'm going to set it up right here. There we go. Do an airdrop here. This one is what happens when the birds, some creatures are such strong creatures of habit that the slightest change creates a situation of threat. Okay, we got that principle? So I'm going to share with you now something that happened this morning that illustrates that point marvelously. Here we go. Okay. There we are. Okay. Now while that's happening, we have another one here. This is a cockatoo that came 2 days ago. And if you look at the video here, okay, to the left we have 3 lorikeets. In the center we have a king parrot. And beside we have a a fourth lorikeet. And this big white character is what? That is a sulfur-crested cockatoo. Now, watch what he does when he's a little upset. This is in slow motion. So he decides he's after the food, launches himself into space with huge, angelic, what do angels' wings look like if they're not? And that disturbs the lorikeets. Ah, there they go. Okay. Yeah, there's the big bird. Yep. And watch the lorikeets take off, launch themselves. So my point in illustrating this is to say that living beings, we living beings, have very small tolerances for disruption. I guess when we're young, we can be on the road, we can be Jack Kerouac, right? Riding with Neil Cassidy endlessly from the north to the south, from the east to the west, today in San Francisco, 3 days later in New York. But that's only a certain age when we can tolerate that kind of disruption. Many of us are like these birds. Are we ready? This is what happens when, now hold your ears, this is what happens when things get disrupted like today. This was taken this morning on the balcony after a cleaning, and the birds noticed everything was different. Listen. Uh-oh, something's happening. A turkey has arrived. Oh, that's that. Oh my goodness. And they get used to what? A new normal. And the new normal is we got to put up with this turkey. So let's get on with it, right? So what is this? It's the Bodhisattva can take all take living beings of a world and throw them in another world entirely. They're not disturbed or harmed. They're perfectly fine. Why would he want to do that? Maybe there's a pandemic. Maybe there's a bug that turns air. We humans need we need to breathe air to survive, but we can't. You breathe that air and you die, right? So the Bodhisattva takes us out of our world and puts us somewhere else. Okay, imagine? Is that unimaginable? Is that unbelievable? I told you, what was it today? Stories. Psychic powers, Shantung. What an amazing scope our Bodhisattva has. Okay, at this point, we're going to go back up to, we're going to cover sequentially these 10 episodes of what the Bodhisattva can do. Okay, here's the start. I'll just do the English because we've heard the Chinese already. Disciples of the Buddha, the Bodhisattva on this stage has wise understanding and sovereign psychic powers. Sovereign is zizai, meaning can do what he wants, right? Should he wish to do so, she is a fine pronoun. Should she wish to do so? And each of these 10 starts with that. Might be this, maybe this. In these circumstances, this. In another case, this, right? He can turn confined world systems, little ones, narrow ones, into expansive ones. Expansive ones can go into narrow, confined ones. Defiled world systems, like a coronavirus floating around, can become pure world systems. Pure world systems become defiled world systems, should he wish to do that, to teach a lesson, right? Whether they're chaotic or orderly, upside down or upright, he can turn limitlessly many world systems into each other. Okay, there's the first one. So we mentioned last time, that it was a case of big to small. small to big, defiled to pure, right? What else are they? Chaotic to orderly, right? Like in the Heart Sutra it says, 不垢不增不减, 不垢不净, right? Right? Neither increasing nor decreasing, neither polluted nor pure. So that's not the Dharma here. This is the Bodhisattva using this tool, psychic powers, in order to do his work. And we said last week as well that that's psychic powers is one of his tools. He can also use dharani. He can also use samadhi, right? He can also use his limitless powers of wisdom. Within a single mote of dust, he can put 2, 3, or indescribably many world systems with rivers, mountains, like Sumeru and the rest, into each other. But the mote of dust is just the way it was originally. The world systems are all there. You go, how does he do that? Golly, Mr. Wizard. Should he wish to do so within a single world system, he might make the adornments of 2 appear up to, yeah, we did that today, okay? So that's where we are. We've caught up now. So big into small, many into few, few expand to many, and nothing, if you refer back to your sixth sense readout of what's going on, it looks the same. But what's really happened is this incredible universe-size transformation done by the Bodhisattva. Okay. Yeah. Who can do this? Wowee. Very cool. Wizardry, right? Genuine wizardry, right? Could Voldemort? Nah. However, as we look into these, we discover that psychic powers are not only the possession of a bodhisattva. Right? Who else can do it? Well, dragons have psychic abilities. Who else can do it? Demons have psychic abilities. Who else can do it? The Deva kings, the 4 kings of heaven, Sudhana, can do it. So, yeah. Okay. We've caught up. Shall we move now to the last paragraph on page 42 and 43? Yi Mao Kong, right? That's where we are. 或虽心念于一毛孔实现一切佛境界庄严之事. Or should he wish to do so, he may make all the particulars of the Buddha's state appear within a single pore of the skin. Don't know how you could explain that, how you could illustrate that. I guess I have been a monk of the Silicon Forest for some time. For some reason, I am interested in technology, and I know my counterparts are not at all. They think it's a waste of time. My interest in technology was kindled by watching Master Hsuan Hua, watching our teacher, become what was called an early adopter of technology. Anything that was useful to help people get a message they can absorb that matters to them so they change their lives based around the Dharma, Sherpa would use it. That was back in the day of IBM Selectric typewriters. Gold Mountain Monastery, we had IBM Selectrics. I remember hearing that sound. Those are noisy, right? And they would hit the button and the carriage would zoom back and that ball would go. The ball had the letters of the alphabet on uppercase, lowercase, punctuation marks. And you'd hit the key and it would go. Oh, it was so noisy. And you could type really fast. And we had them because I was one of them. The typists would be typing out last night's sutra lecture so that the pages would be ready for the audience in today's sutra lecture. Then when we got to the end of a chapter, the end of a volume, a juan, a scroll, we would take everything we typed up, edit it, check it, polish it, certify it, publish it as a Master Hua's commentary on sutras. Shifu had us, when IBM Selectrics were pretty much the standard, something new happened. Personal computers, the PC happened. And the Osborne was the very first, as far as first commercially available personal computer, and they were made in Fremont. They came from East Bay, not Silicon Valley. They came from the East Bay. That was where Osborne's studio was. And I remember Master Hua sent 2 or 3 of the monks and lay people out of San Francisco, across the Bay Bridge to Fremont to investigate Osborne computers. They came home with one. And it was in a suitcase, and it had a little green window this big, and you peered at it, and it worked with floppy disks. You put in a floppy disk for the operating system, and then a floppy disk for the data and the programs. So the program was not resident on the computer, it was on the disk, any program you wanted to use. So they were genuinely floppy disks. And that was a computer. Then we went to Digilogs. Oh my goodness. Then we went to, what was next? And the operating system was CP/M. Boy, I've paid my dues. I'm an old timer. CP/M was the preceded what? MS-DOS. MS-DOS grew out of CP/M. And then from MS-DOS, of course, Windows was built on top of it, was kludged in on top. And at that point, Apple computers came into being. The Mac Plus was kind of the first modular Macintosh after the Mac II, the Apple II and stuff. So my interest in technology was born by Master Hua encouraging us to get a Mac Plus, because why? It did Chinese natively. You could type in Chinese very happily on the Mac Plus, and that was so cool. So, IBM or the Windows, Microsoft took forever to implement Chinese or Japanese or Korean, CJK. So, okay, what came along at some point was the iPod. And the iPod was a way to carry music in your pocket. Oh, what a concept. How exciting that was, to have music in your pocket. And as many tunes, I remember watching the ads where the guy would take his computer and drag his songs he wanted to listen to over to his iPod that was connected on. And then he would take his iPod and unplug it and go off on a skateboard listening to the music, his own playlist. Ooh, so independent, so free, right? Me, I want that. Customized, personalized, your very own playlist. How exciting. And I got an iPod. Somebody offered me an iPod as a part of the United Religions, someone who was offering iPods. And I got one, and it was a video iPod. And the window of my iPod, here's a hard drive. The window was half the size, it was this big, of the video iPod. And if you had a movie, you could drag it into the iPod, and it could hold 60 gigabytes. And you could play a movie, plug in your white earbuds, and watch a movie on your iPod. And I remember the screen was this big, and it was, you could barely see it, but the audio was terrific. And I remember I took Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Crouching Tiger, and Canglong Wohu, and dropped it into my video iPod, and I watched Chao Yun Fat, right? Zhou Ren Fa, and Wang Ziyi, and who was Li Mubai's girlfriend. What was the Malaysian actress who is so magnificent from martial arts. And so there it was. And what was it? It was not a hair pore, a pore of the Buddha's, all of the Buddha's, it wasn't the Buddha's deeds in a single pore of the skin. It was a Hollywood film, right? Li An, on a video iPod. But I remember thinking, gee whiz, this is really, monks have to be careful. Because you could be sitting right there in meditation and nobody can see that in your hand you have this video iPod and you're watching Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, you know. Aum Tofu. And what a wonderful concept. Technology gives us what? It gives us a 入世, a worldly marketplace object by which we can imagine what the 出世, the world transcending ability that the Bodhisattva has to teach living beings. He can take everything that a Buddha can do and shrink it down into the tiniest of organic spaces, which is a pore of the skin. You know, how small is a skin pore? You've seen them blown up with electron microscopes and, you know, what's in a skin pore. But the Bodhisattva can do that without the benefit of silicon. He doesn't have to have a microcircuit stamped with, you know, by Steve Jobs and his crew of elves at Apple. He did it organically out of carbon-based, not silicon-based, right? Hydrocarbons, the body itself can do these things. Okay. Absolutely, right? Man, when it comes to storytelling, the Avatamsaka Sutra does not bow to Marvel Comics. Okay, let's do this next one right here. What is it? 或随心念与意念中实现不可说世界微尘数身，一一身实现如是微尘数手，一一手各自恒河沙数华莲香阙蛮盖传饭周遍十方供养于佛。Let's do the next one too. 一一身复实现而许微尘数头，一一头复现而许微尘数舌，于念念中周遍十方看佛功德。All right, you ready? Let your imagination soak it up. Or, should he wish to do so, in the interval of a single thought, he may make bodies as many as the fine motes of dust in indescribably many world systems appear. Each body makes hands appear in number, many as those fine motes of dust. Each hand holds as many vases of flowers and chests of incense, garlands, canopies, banners, and pennants, as there are grains of sand in the Ganges River. These hands extend throughout the 10 directions, making offerings to the Buddhas. Each body further makes appear heads, as many as those fine motes of dust. Each head further makes appear tongues, as many as those fine motes of dust. In every instant of thought, they extend throughout the 10 directions, praising the meritorious qualities of the Buddha. Hallelujah. So, this, I'm going to take us back to the Arhats 18 transformations, right? And for the Arhat, one of the qualities of those 18 transformations is they are superhero, like, you know, as we said, Marvel Comics universe or DC Comics, the hero in those stories, let's just look at Superman or Batman or Spider-Man. Let's look at Spider-Man. Spider-Man exhibits Bodhisattva-like selflessness. So Spider-Man is called on, or the bat signal flies in the sky, and he goes out and saves the day. I remember in Spider-Man 2, right? He is planning to go watch Mary Jane in a play. He's got tickets. He's famous for not showing up. It's kind of on the line, and she invites him, and he's got a ticket. He's got a bouquet. He's got his suit on, and the signal comes out, and Peter Parker has to drop everything and go rescue a little girl who is in front of a bus because some evil guy has robbed a bank and has put people in jeopardy. So Peter Parker turns into Spider-Man and stops the bus just at the last second, rescues the girl, hands her back to her mother, puts the baddies in a spider web, hands them to the police, runs back to the theater for curtain time with his roses, and the door is shut and no one is allowed to come in because the play has begun. So he misses his date with Mary Jane, and she loses patience with him, and Peter Parker has to say, you know, I quit. I'm taking too much of a loss as Spider-Man, and I give up. Bad guys are endless. I vow to let them do their evil. You know, he makes an anti-Bodhisattva vow. He quits. This is Spider-Man 2. It's wonderful. It's really a good film because you see the challenge illustrated of what it must be like to be a Bodhisattva who says, living beings are infinite, but I'm going to save them all even so. Right? Regardless of how many living beings there are, when the signal goes out, I'm going to drop everything and go save them. Well, Peter Parker goes, you know, I can't stand it. I need some me time, right? Later on, through the help of Aunt May, his wonderful auntie who shows all the wisdom of a great, good, and wise advisor, Aunt May tells him that he needs to get back on his web and start saving living beings. So he does, and Mary Jane forgives him. It's great, you know. But the quality of the superheroes that our popular culture celebrates is solo. The effect of them is wonderful, that they save the day. They save, you know, hold on 1 more minute, I'm coming, says Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, the Iron Man. So the Bodhisattva of the Mahayana has now extended this into the infinite Dharma realm. And what is the Bodhisattva doing? Look at this. He makes infinite numbers of bodies appear, as many as motes of dust in indescribably many world systems. And the bodies extend hands. And what are all the hands doing? They are making offerings. And it's a kind of a formula. Okay, what is it? Flowers, chests of incense, flower garlands, canopies, beautiful parasols, banners and pennants, things that catch the eye and look splendid and inspiring, as many as grains of sand in the Ganges. And all of these things make offerings to the Buddha. This is an Avatamsaka scale offering. And the Bodhisattva does this right? As he pleases, effortlessly. His mind never moves. He can just do it, right? Furthermore, heads come forward. And So, I might mention, where does text like this appear? Text like this appears in chapter 40 of the Avatamsaka, when Maitreya, said it wrong, Samantabhadra Bodhisattva tells Sudhana how to practice Samantabhadra's vow number 3, right? Guangxiu Gongyang, extensively make offerings, right? Just like this. So when you, on Ullambana, Ullambana, notice how I cleverly introduced Ullambana. Ullambana is coming up this Wednesday. That's a Sanskrit word which means 解导圈, to liberate beings hanging upside down, who are hanging upside down. And it's done partly, half of it, through making offerings. So on Ullambana, we approach the monastery. If there's a global pandemic and it's a lockdown, quarantine time, like in the state of Victoria here in Australia, in New South Wales, then you do it virtually. But you do take things that you enjoy, things that have value to you, like a cup of oolong tea, right? Gao Shan Cha, high mountain oolong. And you offer it to the Sangha. The Sangha in turn, then, having been given generously, having been offered by lay people, in turn give back. They do their part and recite sutras, recite mantras. Om Namo Bhagavate Vaisajya Guru, right? They do sutras and mantras on behalf of living beings to heal illness, to dispel fear, to bestow courage, to calm the anxious, to break through the cloud of forest fire smoke that is visible from spacecraft, right? To give the heart sustenance so that in times like ours now, where, you know what? America, in particular, in the world, is maybe for the second time, third time, in our brief national history, experiencing the truth of the first noble truth that the Buddha spoke. The reality of the first noble truth, right? That things that are conditioned, things that come together, made up of parts, come apart. And when they do, it is unsatisfying. The noble truth of suffering, they say, right? We're experiencing that now. Things are coming apart in ways that impact our bodies, our minds, our spirits most uncomfortably. And we don't know what to do. The ones who should be doing something about it have not done so. And it's a situation where what's required is a vertical chain of command. It has to come down from the top for it to work. Because if one state enacts measures to stop the virus and then the next state fails to do so, you go back to zero, right? Forest fires, hurricanes. Oh, a new awareness of the need to face what we did to the people we enslaved and massacred, etc., etc. This is a new moment for America. So we have to decide, how are we going to deal with dukkha? And that was what? That was indeed what launched the prince into his search that led to Buddhahood and awakening. Let's see here. Okay, good question from YouTube. Are there consequences for the 10th stage Bodhisattva that he has to receive if he uses his power to bring world systems together. Are you a lawyer by any chance? So, good question. So, the question is this karmically free? Are there karmic consequences for the world intervention, world scale intervention that our Bodhisattva is doing now? And, oh, you know what? I jumped off the text. I'm going to hold that thought. I jumped off the text in order to illustrate, and I have to go 2 more lines to get it. So we're going to go back to the text, which was, when the heads appear. We had the hands appear to make offerings, right? And that was vow number 3 of chapter 40. The next piece we read, each body makes heads appear. Imagine, right? Multiple heads. And from each head comes a tongue, meaning speech, comes sounds, language from each tongue. And what do? They, in an instant of thought, they extend throughout 10 directions to praise the qualities of the Buddha. Okay, we did our due diligence to our text. All right, why would hands appear to make offerings? Okay, we got that. That's a good thing to do, you make offerings. Why would heads appear with speech coming out of each one to praise the Buddha? It's because that's vow number 2 of Samantabhadra's practices and vows. Oh yeah, that's where we heard that before, right? It's again the Fa, Jie Guan, the Dharma realm contemplation, used as a expedient means to save living beings by a bodhisattva on the 10th stage, different from the solitary actions of the Arhat with his 18 transformations, not to diminish them. They all have their time and place. But when we get to the 10th stage, look at the scope. And there's where our question came in. Look at the scope of this bodhisattva who is doing what? I want to share, I got a photograph, this photograph. Our friend Madalena, bless her heart, was going through her old files and found some photos. You see this photo? This is, I'm on the right, and on the left is former Bhikshu Hung Chao. This is Professor Martin Verhoeven out on the coast of California receiving a meal offering. Right? We're sitting there at lunch. This is halfway up the coast of California. And there we are, right? 2 wet behind the ears bhikshus receiving the offerings of kind-hearted lay people. It might be Ullambana, it's maybe not, but it looks like it might be. And there we are. And how the Bodhisattva takes that single act of offering or praising, and we didn't get bowing, but we'll see if he mentions bowing, going through the 10 bows. While Marty and I, oh, by the way, my desktop is the end of that pilgrimage. On my desktop, we reached City of 10,000 Buddhas there. While we were bowing, something very unexpected happened, which was these 10 vows of Samantabhadra, Pushen Pusa Shida Yuanwang, came front and center. They came alive. The importance of those vows came real to Marty and myself. I remember saying because what we were doing while we were bowing was we were focusing on the Avatamsaka Sutra, reciting the name of the sutra, Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Huayan Jing Huayan Highway Fo Pusa, with every step and every bow. Every time I bowed, it was Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Huayan Jing. When I stood up, it was Huayan Highway Fo Pusa. That was the method of reciting. Then, We also each memorized pieces of the text. We also explained the text and read it and recited it at night, every single night. That was the only book we had, except for Six Patriarch Sutra and the Book of Changes, the I Ching. We didn't have other literature with us. So this book, this sutra, this Buddhist wisdom, was a laser focus for our. We were both graduate students. We inhaled books, and when you get rid of the books, and all written communication is focused on the Chinese characters of the Huayin Jing, what happens is you read it at a different level. It kind of comes in through the skin, it comes in through the air. And the mind digests it in a different way. There's a method. This is a Dharma method. That's why bowing to each word in the sutra is such a powerful practice, because you encounter the text in a whole new way. And if anybody who's listening today, 无论是中国人是外国人是什么人，听到这一点，想拜经，每一个字经书每一个字扣一个头，这个法门不可思议。So anybody who's listening who thinks, I wonder how to approach these texts, how might I, get into this? I was handed a method by the person who introduced me to Gold Mountain Monastery, Bhikshu Hangyo, David Bernstein. If he's listening, call home. I want to talk to you. He said, bow to a sutra. Bow your head to a prostration to every single word. And I was like, oh, come on, I speed read. Don't give me this bow. He said, precisely because you speed read, you don't absorb anything you read. Try bowing to the sutra. So we did. Okay. So we bowed to the sutra. As a result, my point is to say what came real for us was a notion that Samantabhadra's practices and vows somehow are imprinted on the deeper mind. We said things like these activities, bowing to the Buddha, praising the thus come one, extensively making offerings, repenting and reforming of karmic errors, rejoicing in others' merit and virtue, requesting the Buddha to stay in the world, requesting the Buddha to turn the Dharma wheel, that's backwards order, learning from the Buddhas, according with living beings, and transferring the merit. Those 10 practices are the deeper contours of the awakened mind. It just sort of popped out, because why? It's mentioned everywhere in the Avatamsaka Sutra. Samantabhadra is one of the speakers of the Avatamsaka, and those 10 everyday behaviors that we have every day in the monastery. You bow, you praise, you offer, right? You repent, etc. We do those things. They're not extraordinary, bizarre, exotic, strange behaviors. They're in a monastery, in a Buddhist context, in the practice of the Tao, cultivating. This is daily fare, right? This is the rice and steamed vegetables and tofu instead of the meat and potatoes. It's the vegetarian equivalent of meat and potatoes. It's the vegetables and rice of daily practice. Okay, so if that's true, look at what the Bodhisattva with his psychic powers does as he transforms his elements or her elements. He, maybe in a certain world, wants everybody to praise the Buddha, so out come these heads with voices saying, upon the earth below the sky, the Buddha has no peer. In 10 directions everywhere, he is beyond compare. Right? He's 天上天下无如佛，十方世界亦无比，世间所有我今见，一切无有如佛者。Praising the Buddha, because that's what living beings can do. When we do that, our hearts open up. Hearing that music, we reduce our cares and woes. Pack up all your cares and woes. Here I go. Da-da-dum. Bye-bye, blackbird. The blackbird of affliction flies away. Right? So, maybe. And then all these hands to make offerings. Those are Samantabhadra's vows. And the Bodhisattva is now free within those constraints somehow, coming up from the depths of his awakened nature. Those behaviors. Interesting. The deeper contours of the awakened mind seem to have those kinds of patterns coded in there. Maybe. Okay, time's up. By golly. I brought all kinds of stuff today that I didn't even get to because Ullambana is going to be here. I was going to play that song, but I'll have to do it later. I didn't forget the question. Our questioner said, are there karmic consequences for what the Bodhisattva is doing, if I understand your question correctly? Is this free of any repercussions? And the quick answer is, how do I know? I don't know. I'm not one of these 10-stage bodhisattvas. But I'm interested in your question too. That's fascinating. Does he pay a price for switching worlds around? I believe if I had to stake my life on it, I would say, yeah, of course. There's cause and effect is always true. And bodhisattvas are not immune. They're willing. Somebody asked Master Hua, would a bodhisattva kill somebody if they saw that by doing so they would save many lives, right? And his answer was, on one hand, that's sophistry, because knowing the answer won't help you in any way. You don't have to know that answer. But, he said, a bodhisattva would be willing to undergo any kinds of suffering to repay deeds that he has done. What do they say? He answered this way. He said, what's the difference between a bodhisattva and a living being? A living being, our questioner said, does the bodhisattva have to pay for what he's doing? Does cause and effect still work? Living beings, ordinary people, are completely bound in a world of cause and effect. There's no escaping. It's always fair and just, right? It's completely impartial. You can't argue your way out of retribution. The difference between a bodhisattva here on the 10th stage, for example, shifting worlds around while living beings are unaware, right? While the lorikeets are screaming because something's slightly different on the balcony. The difference is that, Master Hua said, living beings are careless when it comes time to planting the causes down. They don't care. But when it comes time to pay the price, we go screaming and wailing. Unfair. Right? I'm not going to make a political joke here. I'm not. I'm going to resist. Bodhisattvas, on the other hand, fear causes, not the consequences. They are very, very careful when they plant down the causes because they so deeply believe in cause and effect. They know once the seed is planted, it's coming. So when it's time for bodhisattvas to receive the results, they are completely pingdang, level and equal. So the phrase goes, 众生畏因不为果，菩萨畏因众生畏果不为因，菩萨畏因不为果. Living beings are not afraid of killing, stealing, lusting, lying, drugging, but when it comes time to take responsibility for the actions they did, for the lies they told at their convention, they're really upset. So unfair. Fake news, right? Bodhisattvas, on the other hand, because they understand cause and effect, what do? They are really careful with at the point of planting the seeds. When the results come, they perfectly happy to accept it because they know it's coming. It's just. So applying that principle to the question, I think the Bodhisattva, if he is going to shift worlds around, doesn't do it carelessly, doesn't do it hoping to get away with it. Maybe they won't know. Nah, totally clear on what he's doing and willing to suffer. But a deeper question, and one that I cannot answer, but I'd be fascinated to find out about, would be if you commit deeds, if you plant seeds without a self and without desire, what kind of fruit does that bear? What am I looking at? Bodhisattva's vows. Earth store, Bodhisattva, who says, I'm going to stay here till the hells are empty. It's okay with me. I'm happy. This is my choice of neighborhood. Never mind climate change. Imagine living in the hells. He's willing to do that. Fine. Because he doesn't have a self, he's going where suffering is most intense. Yeah. Time is up. I'm going to ask our bhikshus at the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery to let us know what is happening at the Berkeley Monastery as an opportunity for folks to join in and cultivate. What have you got going? Who's going to talk about the events today?
金佛师，你要不要先讲？ Jim Forger can unmute his microphone. I can maybe, if you go to berkeleymonastery.org, Dharma Master.
I can. Safari cannot find the server. Why not? Come on, Safari.
I think you have an R missing.
Do I? Berkeley, Beckley. I do. There we go.
So today we had a full day of Dharma assembly starting from 5 a.m. morning ceremony, and then meditation, and then 3 steps, 1 bow, and then 8 precept transmission, and then Amitabha recitation. So I think, and quite a lot of people participated. I saw maybe about 250 at one point when I glanced. So, and it's a worldwide kind of opportunity to practice together. But we're going to be doing this for the whole week. So tomorrow we're going to begin again at 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. and in the afternoon 2 to 3:30 p.m. This is for the Amitabha session. People who would like to put up pieways, you can do so. You can see on the bottom, for those who participate, we ask you can put up 2 pieways. And that will be there for the duration of the session. And so everyone's very welcome to participate. We also have all our other regular Dharma activities. So for instance, if you scroll down just a little bit, Dharma Master, two more events down, there's the Great Compassion Mantra recitation from 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. Tomorrow morning. You have to make the time adjustment to your time zone. So I think in Australia, it's actually quite late. But we have many of our lay community who are sincerely reciting the Great Compassion Mantra, and they have, I don't have the actual numbers, but it's actually a staggering amount of mantra recitation going on, wishing for the well-being of the people suffering from the pandemic. I also think also for the wildfires in California. So if you like, it's going to be on both Dharma Realm live, just as on this YouTube channel, and also on our BBM online Zoom link. So people who have been joining in regularly, I think you know how to find us. But otherwise, it's actually quite nice to be able to practice with everyone. It's somehow, although we're not in person, there's a feeling of a presence because everyone's so sincere practicing together. You can see just everyone showing up, and day in, day out, people have been coming every day for like 4 months now to practice together, which is not easy. 应佛师，你讲几句吗？
你继续讲吧。
我讲完了，你可以讲。
不是啊，你那个再来礼拜六、礼拜天。
哦，对，我们we have following the Amitabha session, so we've not have enough Dharma. We have Ullambana coming up at Berkeley Buddhist Monastery on the Saturday, September 5th. This will also be from 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. We found that this is maybe most convenient time for people all around the world to participate. So again, you can find us on BBM Online in our Dharma Realm live channel. And following that, on September 6th, as Brother Feng Shui mentioned Earth Store Bodhisattva today, we'll recite the Earth Store Bodhisattva Sutra in Chinese. So Jing Fosher will be leading that one. Yeah. 要不讲几句中文，金佛师，你有没有什么感想？
就是欢迎大家来一起念佛最好了。OK， 就这样子了。
金佛师 says, "Welcome everyone to recite the Amitabha Buddha's name. That's truly the best." 阿弥陀佛。
阿弥陀佛。Okay, thank you for that. A lot going on, and again, as we said, to be able to do this with so many friends, we had 180 people today on YouTube. How many on the Chinese channel? 64? 70? 70. Okay. So 250 total. Gee whiz. That's just amazing that such a thing is possible. And it really makes me more aware of the opportunity that I have to talk to so many people at once, but also the responsibility to try my best to open the sutras so that folks can find the principles that make sense to them.
那个法师，
你说，
那个受八关斋戒的提醒一下，明天早上要能够看到手纹才能够吃早餐，也要注意。然后晚上也不要看电视，夫妻能够分床睡觉。这个就是受八关斋戒的要注意。Yeah.
Okay. Is Jinchuan, you want to translate that? So Jing Fosher just wanted to remind those who are taking the 8 precepts that tonight, don't eat food and wait till tomorrow when you have the sunlight come out and you can see the lines on the palm of your hand. That's the next day, so you can have breakfast then. Don't kind of just distract yourself watching entertainment online or watching TV. And then also it'd be best if you're married, sleep in separate places for the evening. Just to help protect the precepts, maintain the precepts. Those are just things that you can pay attention to.
Okay, that was Jing Fosher reminding people who have today, with the first day of the Amitabha session, taken the Eightfold Precepts. What you just heard Jin Chuan Shi outline were the special circumstances for someone who is living for either one day and one night or for 7 days or 7 nights, the way monks and nuns live their whole lives. That's the value of the Eightfold Precepts. So those were transmitted this morning, and usually it's a 24-hour period. You do those, you live in a very different set of standards so that when it's time to meditate, your mind and body are clear and cool in a whole new way, free of affliction. It's a very wonderful state. I read an article in the New York Times this week about pangolins. People know about pangolins. They're called transcends. They're an animal. And it was talking about the pangolin trade. Why? Why do we care about these kind of anteater-like creatures that are very strange? It's because there's a lot of evidence that suggests the coronavirus that became COVID-19 came from human beings eating pangolins. And the article was just heartbreaking because they say it's very, very likely that pangolins will go extinct now. Because why? People eat them. They're eaten in China, they're eaten in Vietnam, they're eaten in Cambodia, and in China they're called 野味, right? 一个野味, 新鲜的味道. A wild flavor, something exotic. And because people eat these creatures and others like them, coronaviruses, which are numerous, there's not just our coronavirus, there are multiple strains. They live in the animals, and when we eat them, they interact with our body chemistry, and we get very sick, and the whole world gets sick. So the article the author traveled to Cameroon, Yaoundé, Cameroon, and traveled to Cambodia and places where the last pangolins live. And he watched as these creatures were captured and then killed before his eyes for food for people to enjoy at restaurants. And they were crying. The pangolins cry. And they curl around their children to try to save them at the last minute. And these are sentient beings. They have been, their scales, which is one of the things traditional Chinese medicine says is good for you, makes you feel better, right? They found 9 tons of pangolin scales that were being illegally shipped. And I mean, how many of these sad creatures does it take to make 9 tons of their scales? But that's what they found, and they think they're gone. They're going to be gone soon. But if we want to say, notice down here I've got coronavirus is an anagram of carnivorous. Rearrange the letters of carnivorous, meat eating, and you get coronavirus. So we thrive on plant-based foods. That desire for wild flavors will destroy human species, right? Let's nourish our bodies with things that don't make everyone sick. Can we dedicate the merit, send it out, however you would like your merit to go to whomever and how you'd like to improve the world? I would like to improve the world by ridding that greed for flavor, finding joy in simplicity and sufficiency and kindness, right? That's my transference. Here we go. Please make your own wish. Here we go. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people here at sea, how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward, may all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. All right, thanks for joining, everyone. We're going to do 3 half bows from where I'm sitting, and invite you to join me, and then we can do 3 more half bows to our teacher. Here we go. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. See you all next week. 阿弥陀佛，拜拜。